So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Steven Universe. So let's start the series. Steven was awakened from his slumber by the sound of an explosion in the middle of the night. The crystal gems quickly rushed into his room with their guns drawn. Garnet, the leader of the gems, questioned, "Steven, what's going on? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but what was that?" Steven asked, obviously concerned about what had caused the explosion. "I don't know, but me and Pearl are going to go check it out. Amethyst, you stay with Steven." Garnet gave her instruction. An unconscious man was laying on the seashore when Garnet and Pearl hurried out of the home. Upon closer examination, they discovered that the man was severely wounded, without a right arm, covered in cuts and bruises, and his garments were ripped to pieces. He also had brilliant blonde hair and odd birthmarks on his face that resembled whiskers. Unsure of how to handle the situation, Pearl asked Garnet, "What do we do?" "We have to get him to the hospital and quick. I fear he won't last long if he goes untreated." Garnet replied, "Pearl, you stay and look for the thing that did this. I'll take him to get help." She then picked him off the ground and hurried to the nearest hospital. When she got there, she asked for assistance and took him to the hospital. They promptly placed the man she was carrying on a stretcher and began treating him as soon as they noticed his injuries. Naruto was not surprised when he turned to discover that he was connected to an 4 and a heart monitor, because the first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was a white ceiling and the recognizable hospital odor. He started to sit up, not sure how he got here, and when a nurse noticed that he was awake, she phoned the doctor. The nurse pleaded with Naruto to lie back down, saying, "Please, sir, don't try to sit up. You were in a coma for 4 weeks. You need to take it easy." Naruto looked at his missing right arm and said almost hysterically, "Where am I? How did I get here? Why do I feel 5 pounds lighter than before, and why can't I feel my arm?" Gazing at the spot where his arm should be, Naruto said, "Oh, well, I guess that would explain it." As she eventually made her way inside the room, the doctor said, "When you were brought here you were in serious condition." As she reviewed her notes, the doctor stated, "You had multiple broken ribs, a missing tooth, and most obviously, an arm missing." "Oh, where are my manners? My name is Dr. Maheswaran and I was the one who took care of you during your coma." After being able to sit up at last, Naruto asked, "Who brought me here?" The doctor said, "That would be Miss Garnet, but now that I think about it, she didn't give any form of contact information. All she did was say that she'll know when you'll wake up, which is preposterous. There is no way for her to." The doctor was cut off when a large woman with several security guards trying to restrain her slammed open the door to the hospital room. Dr. Maheswaran screamed, "What is going on here?" when one of the security guards was thrown in front of her. The security guard stated, "Dr. Maheswaran. She just barged right through security. We tried everything to restrain her, including tossing her, but she refused to go down. In fact, they didn't seem to do anything to her, she just kept walking," as he attempted to avoid the big woman who took several tasers without even flinching. She lifted him up by the hospital gown he was wearing and stated, "You," as she pointed to Naruto, making him tense. "You and I are going to be having a little talk." Naruto screamed hey as he fought to escape Garnet's iron hold. He said, "At least let me get dressed first." Garnet dragged Naruto away and stated, "Your clothes were destroyed beyond repair. We'll get you something to wear later. He needs to be examined to determine whether he is ready to be released from the hospital. You can't just take him out like that." Dr. Maheswaran shouted. "Yes, I can." She led him to the temple after Naruto and Garnet left the hospital, and she made him wait in Steven's room while she and the other gems conversed in Garnet's room. Are you certain it's safe to leave Steven out there with a stranger? What if he tries to kidnap him? I don't know, Garnet, Pearl inquired, obviously distressed by the thought of abandoning Steven for a total stranger. In an attempt to comfort Pearl that everything would be all right, Garnet said, "Don't worry, Pearl. I'm sure he won't try anything." Not concerned about the intruder in the other room, Amethyst said, "Yeah, Pearl, everything will be fine. You worry too much." Trying to gather her thoughts, she added, "Okay, I'll try not to worry, but that doesn't mean that I enjoy this. All we need to do is find out how he got hurt and what happened to him, and he'll be on his way, right?" In the hopes that they wouldn't have to put up with the stranger for longer than necessary, Pearl asked. Garnet responded, "Sure, Pearl," as she prepared to leave the room and start interrogating Naruto. In the meantime, Steven gazed at Naruto with interest as he sat on the couch and surveyed the room he was in. "Hey, why are you wearing that dress thing?" Steven asked, the elder boy seated in front of Steven questioned. "Oh, this?" Naruto pointed to the youngster and responded, "This is what they had me wear in the hospital before your, caretaker took me here." "Well, what brought you to the hospital?" did Steven ask. Naruto explained, "Well, your caretaker found me and took me there to get fixed up because I was seriously injured." "Wait, you were the one that caused the explosion a couple weeks ago?" "What explosion?" "A couple of weeks ago there was an explosion that woke me up in the middle of the night. Was that you?" responded Steven. "Well, I guess I was. I'm not sure though, I don't really remember any explosion." The door at the end of the room opened while they were speaking, revealing the crystal gems as they left. The interrogation started. Pearl sat in front of Naruto and said, "Okay, we're going to ask you a few questions about how you got so hurt in the first place. Please answer these questions honestly." Amethyst began, "Yeah, or else he'll shove this whip up yo." But Pearl interrupted, wheezing heavily and pleading for the questions. "Alright, first things first, what attacked you on the night of the explosion and how did you end up on the beach in the first place?" "Nothing attacked me. I was fighting someone and when our attacks collided there was this big bang and a bright flash before I passed out. I don't know how I got to that beach in the first place," replied Naruto. "In fact, I don't even know where we are right now," replied Naruto. Steven was perplexed by the elder boy's lack of location knowledge and remarked, "What do you mean you don't know where we are?" "We're in Beach City in the United States of America." "How do you not know where we are?" "I've never heard about Beach City or the United States of America, but do you know where the elemental countries are? Maybe you'll be able to find a way back home." Steven inquired, "What are the elemental countries?" Pearl said, "We're getting off track here. Now Naruto, who was the person you were fighting and why?" inquired Pearl. "He was a friend of mine. Hell, he was practically my brother, but after a battle he went off to kill the village leader so he could rule, so I had to stop him. Last thing I remember was a bright flash. I don't know what happened after that," stated Naruto. Garnet turned to face Steven, who gave her the thumbs up before grabbing Naruto and escorting him into the city. "Well, I guess that's all we can get for now." Steven take Naruto into Beach City to show him around and to get him some clothes. He can't stay in that gown forever. Pearl stared at Garnet when they left the house and then asked, "What are we going to do, Garnet? You can't expect us to believe that story of his." "For now we don't do anything. We'll just have to wait and see if he's lying or not," replied Garnet. As he led Naruto through the tiny city, Steven said, "You're going to love this place. Naruto, Beach City is full of nice people. Where do you want to go? I can show you the arcade, or the big donut, or—" Naruto, who was eager to remove the hospital gown he was wearing, interrupted, actually, Steven, I was hoping we could get me some clothes before we do any of that stuff. Oh yeah, well we could go talk to my dad, I'm sure he has something for you to wear for now. Steven replied. Not wanting to annoy anyone, Naruto asked, are you sure? I mean, wouldn't it be kinda rude to just show up asking for clothes? As he pulled the older teen toward a vehicle wash on the opposite side of town, Steven remarked, don't worry about that, my dad has a load of old clothes he doesn't wear anymore, in fact I don't think he ever wore them. Anyway, come on, I'll take you to the car wash. Naruto started attempting to reach Kurama as they were heading to the wash by asking, hey Kurama, are you there? But he received no response. Come on Kurama, you can't seriously still be asleep, it's been weeks already. The teenager reasoned, well, I guess using up all of that chakra really put a strain on him. His thoughts were cut short when he felt someone shake him, and when he looked down, he saw Steven staring up at him with concern. Hey Naruto, are you alright? I've been trying to get your attention for a while now, but you were in like a trance or something. Steven said, I was trying to tell you that we're here. Naruto glanced around the car wash before focusing on an odd-looking machine positioned in the front of the structure. Oh yeah Steven, I'm fine, I just space out from time to time, don't worry about it. The older adolescent was brought to the rear of the van by Steven, who said, alright then, come on, my dad should be in his van maybe. Dad, are you in there? I got a friend who needs a little help. Steven knocked on the back of the van. Before the van opened up and revealed a pretty huge man with balding but long hair that reached his back, the two heard the sound of crashing objects as it rocked back and forth. He was dressed in a white tank top, cut-up jeans, and flip-flops. If the weary expression in his eyes was any indication, he had just woken up. He grinned and turned to face Steven, saying, hey Stubal, I didn't know you were coming over today, if I did I would have probably gotten up earlier. Hi Dad, sorry for waking you up, but a friend of mine needs some help, do you have any spare clothes? Responded Steven. Before he eventually noticed Naruto standing off to the side, he remarked, I think I got something in the van, but why do you need? Why is he wearing a hospital gown? I was in an accident and was admitted into the hospital. My clothes were damaged beyond repair, and with the way Garnet got me out of there, I couldn't get a proper replacement. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being rude. My name is Naruto, nice to meet you, he stated as he reached for the older man's hand. After a few minutes of searching, he returned with a box containing 2 t-shirts and a pair of jeans. Here you go Naruto, you can use these for now, you can go get changed in the bathroom, he said. Well, it's nice meeting you Naruto, my name is Greg, and I'm sure I got something for you to wear in my van, just give me a sec. Naruto accepted the box, went to change, and said, thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. After waiting for a few minutes, he came back wearing faded blue pants and a black t-shirt with a yellow star on top. After bidding his father farewell, Steven turned to go, adding, you look good, Naruto. Those clothes really suit you. Come on, I want to show you the rest of Beach City. The tour continued as Steven showed Naruto all of his favorite spots in town before concluding with a building with a large donut on top. Okay, Naruto, since Beach City isn't that big of a town, all of the important stuff is really close, so this should be fast, Steven said as they arrived at the boardwalk. He then pointed to a building with a large fry sign on top, saying, that there is Beach City Walk Fries, it's the best place to get fry bits, they're run by the Fryman family, oh and next to that is the pizza shop, they're run by the Pizzas. And finally we end our tour with the greatest place in Beach City, the Big Donut, exclaimed Steven as he hurried into the store and said, come on, I want to get something to eat. Naruto asked as they approached the store, again. Steven, you had 2 packs of those fry bits you love and a personal pan pizza, how can you still be hungry? Oh Naruto, there is always room for dessert, come on, I want you to try this ice cream sandwich called Cookie Cat, they're so good. Steven replied. Before Steven rushed up to the counter and said, hey Sadie, can I have a double chocolate glazed donut and a glazed for my friend here? He thought, well, I guess I'm not one to judge, after all I did eat almost 40 bowls of ramen at one time. Steven then gave Naruto a shove. A lanky teenager burst through the back door, shouting, Sadie, I'm trying to take a nap, keep it down will ya? He leaned next to her and whispered, who's stubby, without taking his eyes off Naruto until Sadie gave him a sharp elbow. Sure Steven, but who is this guy, is he new around here? Sadie asked. He yelled, clutching his side in agony, OW what the heck Sadie? In a sharp voice, she asked, Lars, what's wrong with you? Why are you making fun of someone's disability like that? Hopefully, Naruto would not hear her, but he responded, don't worry Sadie, it's okay, I've been called worse things than Nubby. Surprised that he could hear them, she muttered, that still doesn't make it right. As he came back from the counter with the Cookie Cat fridge on top, Steven said, hey Sadie, do you guys still have some Cookie Cats in the back? I went to look in the fridge but there wasn't any in there. Sorry Steven, some ladies came in a few days ago and bought out our entire supply, Sadie said, relieved that there was something to distract her from the recent events. Yeah, it was weird, we were unloading the delivery truck when this short lady uses this weird whip to take the boxes and run off with them, and after that when we were about to file a police report, this skinny chick with this jewelry thing on her head comes by and pays for the stolen ice cream. Said Larry, adding his 2 cents to the tale. Steven asked with a slight pout, AWW man, why do bad things happen to good people? I guess we'll just take the donuts. In an attempt to comfort the young child, Naruto said, cheer up Steven, I'm sure they'll have more some other time. Actually, we got another shipment coming in tomorrow. With tears in his eyes, Steven gazed up at Sadie before paying for the food and leaving the store without saying a word. Naruto followed Steven and said, I guess I'm going now, hope to see you two again. Garnet was waiting for them when they got to the house. So how was your day you two? She questioned the two before Steven left to tell her everything about their day. Before turning to face Naruto, she remarked, that's great, Steven. I'm glad you had a good day. You don't have anywhere to stay, do you? She asked. No I don't, but I'm sure I can find some place. Naruto replied. Well, you can stay here for a few days at least until you get on your feet. I'm sure Garnet and the others wouldn't mind, right Garnet? Right. Steven cried out, why sleep over? Naruto made the decision to see an old friend as darkness fell on Beach City and the temple's occupants went to sleep. Naruto's point of view. I began walking toward the center, where Kurama resides, after waking up in the sewer that served as my mental landscape. I used the time on my journey there to reflect on my circumstances. For some reason, they never even heard of the elemental nations, and everything appears to be more developed than those. When I eventually arrived in Kurama, my thoughts were interrupted, but something was seriously wrong. He was considerably smaller than he had been previously, only reaching the size of a large wolf, his dark orange fur had turned a dull gray, and his breathing was irregular and laborious. I hurried up to him and knelt next to him, putting a gentle palm on his head in the hopes that he would awaken quickly. Before fear set in, I asked myself, God, what the hell happened to you, Kurama? Tears were streaming down my face at the thought of losing my close buddy. Oh God, is Kurama dying? Is this how Bijou die? I asked. Kurama shifted, and as I looked down, I noticed that his eyes were opened. Kit? The hell happened you look lighter, like maybe 5 pounds lighter. I don't know how much does an arm weigh, he joked. I gave him a little laugh and said, you look like you're at least 50 tons lighter, and you can talk. I asked in a serious tone, Kurama, what the hell happened, where are we? I don't feel any chakra in this world, Kurama said, sensing the surroundings. Well, it seems like we're not in the elemental nations anymore, it feels like we're not even in the same dimension anymore. Yeah, I noticed that too, but how did we get here? I inquire. Well, when your and the Uchiha's attack collided, the resulting blast tore a hole in the fabric of space and time itself. That tear dragged you into the rift between dimensions. Kurama clarified. Our attacks were that strong? I inquired, astonished that we possessed such power. Of course they were. I mean, the both of you have fought and defeated a goddess that was able to traverse dimensions effortlessly. I'd say that the both of you have the power of a minor god at least, explained Kurama. I asked the fox for clarification, saying, what? There's no way I'm that powerful, Kurama, and that still doesn't explain why you're so small and where the others are. I was getting to that, brat. Anyway, what you have to understand about interdimensional travel is that without proper precautions it can be extremely dangerous, so we used our chakra to shield you when you were in between dimensions. It took all of the others' chakra and most of mine, that's why the others ain't here and why I am so weak. Explained the Bijou. So they're gone for good? There's no way to get in touch with them? He grinned and said, no, unfortunately, there isn't. From now on, it's just you and me, just like old times. Well, that's good and all, but how are we going to get back? I mean, they're still trapped in the infinite Tsukuyomi. If we don't get back, then who knows what will happen to them. I was frantic. Calm down, Brett. The Uchiha is still there and both the Scarecrow and Pinky are still out. I'm sure they will figure something out. Right now there is no way to get back to our world. I'm sorry, Kit. But look at the bright side, you can't die, so we will have all the time in the world to get back. The fox replied, what do you mean, why can't I die? I responded. Well, your healing factor is keeping you from aging now that we perfected the 9-tailed chakra cloak. The fox responded, look, Kit, I know you might not want to hear this, but this could be a new chance at life, one without having to fight a war, one without living as a pariah for just being you. I growled, shocked that the fox would even suggest such a thing, and asked, what the hell are you talking about, Kurama? You know I can't just abandon my friends like that. He sighed somewhat and continued, I know that, Kit, just give it some thought, that's all I ask. You better get up, it's morning already. As I stepped out of my mindscape, I said, okay, I'll see you later, I guess. Typical point of view. The young blonde turned to see Steven preparing 2 dishes of waffles when she woke up. Steven put a plate for Naruto on the table and said, good morning, Naruto. I made you some food in case you're hungry. Before starting to work, he said, thank you, Steven. It looks really good. Now, what are your plans? As he took a seat beside Naruto, Steven asked. As he finished the waffles and carried the dish to the sink, Naruto remarked, I'm probably going to stick around Beach City, maybe write a few books to make some money, at least until I can find a way back home. How was your home? The inquisitive child asked. As Naruto reflected on his former home, he remarked, it was large, surrounded by miles and miles of trees, and there was a monument that was made in honor of the leaders of the village. With stars in his eyes, Steven exclaimed, wow, that sounds really cool. He smiled slightly and replied, it was, Anyways, I'm going to head out. I'll be at the top of the temple nigh the lighthouse if you need me. By Steven. By Naruto. When Naruto arrived at the lighthouse, he sat on the cliff's edge and gazed out over the sea. I hope you people are okay, I wish I was there. He groaned and took out his copy of the story of the incredibly brave shinobi. I wonder what you would do in this scenario, pervy sage, he thought as he wiped the tears from his eyes. Before he started working, he unsealed a piece of paper and a pen and remarked, "It would be better to begin translating this since I don't want to snoop on Steven forever." He translated the book for almost an hour before he was done. I should probably look for someone to publish this. Hey Naruto, what are you doing over here? A familiar voice called out to him as Naruto, who had been wandering the town, finally found himself near the wash. Before heading to Naruto, he turned to face the voice and seen Greg waving at him from the front of the wash. Oh hey Greg, I was just looking to see if I could find someone to publish this book I've been working on. Naruto said. Greg wanted to know if the blonde's book was any good, so he asked, "You've been writing a book? That's pretty cool, would you mind if I took a look at it?" Naruto gave the elder man the papers and said, "Sure, go ahead." What started out as a brief skim of the book ended up taking him 2 hours to read, and when he was done, he turned to the blonde in wonder. Greg questioned Naruto, "Naruto, this is incredible, you wrote this?" "Oh no, my godfather wrote it, I'm just translating it for him," replied Naruto. "It's still a fantastic book, and I know someone who can publish it for you. I'll give my old high school buddy a call to see if he can do it for you," Greg remarked. "That would be incredibly helpful, Greg. Thank you very much." Naruto nodded gratefully at Greg. Greg led Naruto into the laundry to contact the publisher, saying, "It's no problem, Naruto. Come on, let's go call him up." Before disconnecting up, Greg turned to Naruto and said, "Okay, thanks Ricky. I'll send over the book soon." Ricky expressed interest and wanted to see the rough draft as soon as possible. When Naruto heard this, he smiled and said, "Thank you, Greg. Without your assistance, I probably wouldn't have found a publisher." He then left the wash. Greg said, "So do you have any plans for a sequel or a new story altogether?" After he finished speaking. He thought to himself, "Well, I might have some ideas for a new book, but I'll probably wait to see how well the book sells. I'll probably just use some of my past experiences for any future books," he continued. As they sat down on the patio chairs outside the wash, Greg said, "Okay, if you do, make sure to let me look at them. Oh, that reminds me, do you plan on going by a pen name? You know, something to keep you private if you ever get famous." As he accepted a Coke that Greg had provided him, Naruto questioned, "Yeah, I'll probably go by, how does Kurama sound?" "It sounds great, I'll make sure to tell Ricky your pen name," he replied. Naruto stood up to go, saying, "I have to get going, Greg. I'll see you soon." Before he saw the crystal jewels imprisoned behind a shattered section of the temple by a gigantic centipede-like thing spitting acid at their cover, he heard a loud bang on his way back to the temple. When a rock struck it on the side of the head, it finally stopped. Naruto turned to see where the rock had come from and found Steven standing in the center of the beach holding the small refrigerator from the large donut. As Naruto began to run towards the enormous insect, he thought, "What the hell is Steven doing? He's going to get himself killed." When he got there, the centipede had his full attention while using its tail pincers to hold the gems in place. Pearl shouted, "We have to save Steven." He was about to rush in to try to save him, but Amethyst pulled him back just in time to prevent the tail from chopping off the fingers of the stone hand they were using for shelter. She said, "How about we save ourselves first?" And then she saw Naruto running toward the centipedal. "Why you're going to get yourself killed," she yelled, but he jumped toward it and kicked it quickly in the head, deflecting an acid attack away from Steven but destroying the small refrigerator he had brought. "No no no, oh no," exclaimed Steven, glancing at the ruined refrigerator. "Cookie Cat, he's the pep for your tummy," he began to sing as he picked it up. "Cookie Cat, he's super duper yummy." He began to run after the monster, who was now focusing on Naruto, saying, he left his family behind. Then, with a powerful heave, he threw the fridge, electrocuting the monster, giving Naruto enough time to retreat. "This is my opportunity." Before striking the centipedal, he thought as he charged up a Rasengan in his hand. The strike began drilling into the creature before it eventually poofed, leaving behind a spherical jewel. Before Pearl snatched the gem from him, he thought, "What was that thing?" Pearl remarked, "Don't touch that, this stuff is too important to be messed with." She then bubbled the stone and sent it to the temple. Garnet approached the blonde and asked, "So was that one of the attacks you were talking about yesterday?" Before turning to face Steven, who was kneeling by the makeshift grave he had constructed for his Cookie Cat wrapper, he added, "Yeah, it's just a very watered-down version of it." "Hey Steven, how are you feeling?" he asked. He moaned in agony as he felt his stomach turn over and muttered, "I think I ate too many Cookie Cats." "Well, I suppose ice cream doesn't give you your powers," Amethyst said, approaching Steven. Pearl crouched by Steven and said, "Don't worry, Steven. I'm sure you'll figure out how to activate your powers. Of course, they don't originate from ice cream." Pearl turned to face the teenager and asked, "Speaking of powers, what other things can you do, Naruto?" "Yeah, I thought humans couldn't do anything like that," Amethyst replied. With a perplexed expression on his face, Naruto turned to face Amethyst and asked, "What did you think I meant when I was talking about attacks yesterday?" She acknowledged, "I thought you were just crazy." He gave them a brief overview of his skills by saying, "Anyway, I can make clones of myself and I have a few techniques that boost my physical abilities." Ignoring his stomach ache, Steven said, Oh, could you please show us?" As he began to head to the temple, the blonde said, "Sure, but I can only show you the clones right now because my other techniques take up a lot of chakra and I don't have enough in my reserves." "Come on, I'll show you at the temple," he said. Steven said, "Well, what's chakra anyway?" as he walked back to his house with the blonde. The gems, curious about the blonde, chose to overhear their talk. He said, "Well, chakra is like the energy of the body and the spirit combined into a single energy that I store in my chakra reserves, and I can use that energy to do my techniques and some other stuff like walk on walls and water." "I'm pretty sure that's right, man. I wish Sakura was here, she knows this stuff a lot more than I do," he thought. "Whoa, that's awesome. Do you believe I possess chakra?" With a tone of hope, Steven asked. He extended his senses to the gems and remarked, "I can feel an energy source coming from you, but it's not chakra." "It feels more like the gem's energy," he observed. When they eventually arrived at the temple, Amethyst said, "You heard that, Steven, you got gem powers, you just have to awaken them." Steven said, "Yeah, I suppose you're correct." "Naruto, could you show us the clones now?" He wanted to watch the blonde in action, so he asked. Before drawing a cross with his thumb and index finger and saying, "Kagebushin no Jutsu," Naruto said, "Sure Steven." A cloud of smoke obscured his view from the others, but as it dissipated, they saw two Narutos standing there. "What do you guys think?" he inquired. As Pearl approached to clone, she exclaimed, "This is fantastic, I've never seen anything like this." She pinched the clone's cheeks and asked, "And they're solid too, how durable are they?" Before causing the clone to disintegrate in a tiny puff of smoke, Naruto stated, "Well, they can only take a good hit, but their primary usage is for information gathering. You see, when the clone disperses I gain the memories." Before eventually entering the house, Steven said, "Wow, that's incredible. Hey Naruto, how is your book progressing?" he inquired. Naruto sat down on the couch and said, "It's finished. Your dad and I found a publisher to publish it this morning." "What is this about authoring a book that I've heard?" As the other two gems moved into their separate rooms, Pearl overheard the two of them conversing. He turned to the blonde and asked, "Naruto mentioned that he was working on a book. So you've already finished one of your novels, may I see it?" he questioned the elder teenager. "It's not really my book, it's just a translated version of my godfather's book, and I left the rough draft of the book with your dad so he can send it to the publisher, but I'll let you get to the first book if I can," promised Naruto. "Well, I hope you still have the original book, I would love to read it," said Pearl. As Naruto took out the book in question and gave it to the gem, he remarked, "Yeah, but I'm not sure if you'll be able to read it because it's not in English." Before taking the book from his hands, she boasted, "I'm sure I'll be able to read it, I have learned almost every language on this earth." The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi. This should be interesting, she thought to herself as she read the title before turning to face the blonde. "I'll return the book as soon as I'm done with it." She then made her way to her room. Before a loud growl began to emerge from his stomach, Naruto remarked, "I hope you enjoy it." "Dude, I'm hungry." "Hey Steven, is there somewhere we can eat ramen?" "No," Steven said, turning away from the toys he was playing with, "but I believe the general store sells instant ramen if you want, so we can go get some." "That's okay, Steven. I believe I'll simply grab a bite to eat at the boardwalk." "What do you want?" asked Naruto. Steven looked a little queasy at the idea of eating anything. "Nah, my stomach still hurts from all those cookie cats, I don't think I'll eat anything else for today." "Alright, I suppose I'll be leaving," Naruto stated as he started to exit the shrine. Garnet's point of view. "It's been more than an hour since that gem attack, and I've spent most of that time researching our guest's future. Based on what I could see, nothing was concerning, but it's better to be safe than sorry, so I'll make sure to keep an eye on him at least until I'm certain he poses no threat." As I walked out of my room, I thought, maybe we should go on a mission together sometime so I can get a better feel about him. Steven was alone himself in the main room of the house, watching TV. "Where did Naruto go, Steven?" he said. "He went down to the boardwalk to get something to eat," said Steven, too preoccupied with the TV to glance up. "Before I left the temple, I said, okay, then I'll be back in a bit." It didn't take me long to reach the boardwalk, where I noticed Naruto seated on a bench with a group of teenagers. Curiosity got the better of me, so I chose to overhear their conversation. Typical point of view. I managed to escape while wearing a bright orange jumpsuit and being pursued by at least 10 police officers. "Gosh, Naruto, you were really into some odd things when you were younger," asked the pizza man's daughter, the only woman in the group, whether she remembered right. With a little laugh, the blonde recalled old memories and said, "Yeah, I eventually got caught by my teacher. Man, was he mad. After class he made me clean the monument by myself." "Garnet, deciding she had wasted enough time listening to the group of teenagers, suddenly materialized behind the blonde and grabbed the back of Naruto's shirt, saying, "Come on Naruto, we have work to do." "What are you doing, Garnet?" "H," as Garnet leaped into the air and pulled him along by the shirt, he yelled. "What just took place?" the lanky boy in orange pants asked. Garnet lifted Naruto up as he landed in front of the temple. Naruto was irritated at the mode of transportation Garnet had chosen to get him there. "Is it really necessary for you to do that each time you see me?" still dangling from the back of his shirt, he asked. As she began dragging him into the temple, she casually remarked, "It's the quickest way to get your attention." "What specifically was so crucial that you had to bring me here, then?" Without attempting to resist the jewel, he questioned. As they entered the temple, she stated, "We're going on a mission." "Really? Are the others following suit?" As they entered the warp pad, Naruto posed the question. Before squirming out of the temple, Garnet said, "No, it's just going to be you and me on this one. I'll explain more on the way." We were standing on a large ledge on a mountainside overlooking a sea of forest when we landed, and I looked around as we did so. Behind us, there was a hole in the mountainside with a pickaxe craving at the top, and the inside of the cave had nothing interesting except some broken machinery. "Hey Garnet, what was the purpose of this place?" She replied, "We're going to be hunting down a gem monster that was spotted in the area. This was where the gems would mine raw material to build weaponry and armor. Could you try using your powers to perceive it?" "Sure." I closed my eyes and started to concentrate on our surroundings, and as I looked about, I saw something strange in Garnet's energy, a combination of a raging fire and an icy storm. I decided to ask her about this later, and I went on with my mission to try and locate the monster. I looked around for a minute without finding anything, so I stopped and said to Garnet, "I can't sense anything in the area. We'll need to check about, I believe." She said, "Right," before snatching me up and putting me under her arm. "Is it truly necessary for you to carry me everywhere we go? Don't you think this is getting a little stale, knowing that I wouldn't be able to get away?" I asked without trying. "No, I don't have to, but this method is simpler." Before plunging off the mountainside into the forest below, she remarked, "Besides, you're going to be too busy focusing on sensing the gem monster while we travel." With a sigh, I started to concentrate on feeling for gem energy again, and after what seemed like half an hour, I made the decision to speak with Kurama. "Hey, are you there?" After a few moments, I eventually heard groaning. With a hint of irritation, he remarked, "This better be good, brat. I was having a nice nap before you decided to wake me up. Hey Fox, how come I can't sense this thing we're looking for?" I questioned, before smiling at the sound of the fox's irritated growls. "Well, it could be that the thing you're looking for is so weak that you'd have to be really close to it to sense it, or it could be that you just suck." I chose to roll my eyes and say what had been on my mind ever since we began looking for the jewel monster. "You sense it too, don't you?" "The energy of Garnet. How peculiar." "Yeah, I feel it and it is interesting, but I doubt it's something you should worry about, whatever it is." Before disconnecting from the fox, I remarked, "Yeah, I guess you're correct." As I tried to feel the gem, I detected a slight energy to the east of our location. "Garnet. I sense it. Head east," I shouted, guiding her toward the jewel, and as we approached it, I started to sense its energy more clearly. Beneath all of that was a profound sense of hopelessness, which only intensified as we drew nearer. It seemed like a mix of pure misery and total lunacy. We soon encountered the gem monster, a 12-foot tall, bipedal creature with all of its body covered in black fur except for its hands and feet, and only its eyes, one of which was an oval obsidian, were visible on its face. The gem was standing in the center of a destroyed campsite, gazing up into the trees, and as I followed its gaze, I noticed two campers cowering atop a tree. Typical point of view. What will we do about those folks up in the tree, Garnet? Asked Naruto, keeping his eyes fixed on the gem creature. We'll need to guide it away from them. Do you believe you can accomplish that? As she prepared her gauntlets, Garnet questioned. It followed a path of uprooted and destroyed trees as it flew through the air, and Naruto followed in the hopes of giving it a final blow. When he caught up, he started to attack, but the beast grabbed one of the broken tree trunks and smashed him on his right side, sending him flying into a tree. Garnet took advantage of this and seized the other end of the tree, lifting the gem monster a good 30 feet into the air and slamming it into the ground. The attack continued as it was raised again, only to be met with a vicious uppercut and a left hook. In an attempt to terminate the battle, Naruto wrapped his arm around an uprooted tree and held it close to his body, thinking, damn, this would be much easier with 2 arms. Naruto got off the ground as he watched Garnet strike the gem monster repeatedly. He charged the gem monster, but Garnet saw the impending blow and pushed it out of the way of the blonde's attack. The gem monster was impaled by the tree's roots, but Naruto continued to charge until he struck another tree, which pushed the roots deeper into the monster. It gave a last pathetic squeal and poofed, leaving its gem behind. Carefully picking up the diamond, Naruto returned to Garnet, who was grinning slightly. You did pretty well for your first mission, Naruto said. Now come on, we got to go take care of those humans, she said, bubbling up the gem and sending it to the temple, saying it was at least better than Amethyst's. What transpired during Amethyst's expedition? He inquired. As they headed back to the encampment, she explained, there was a cave-in, so we were trapped in it for about a month. They noticed the humans, facing away from them, examining a camera. This is going to be one of the greatest scientific discoveries in history, she said. We will get wealthy. To his spouse, the male camper said. The fact that we were able to capture unambiguous film of Bigfoot still amazes me. Hey, what became of the 2 men who were pursuing it? The female camper said. Who in hell gives a damn? Most likely, they're dead. With Naruto standing right behind them, the male camper stated, let's just get the hell out of here before that thing decides to come back. Well, don't you think that's a little rude? He remarked, frightening the 2 campers. What the devil? Why aren't you dead? Are you guys okay? I'm too cool to be pulled down so quickly, that he only asked after observing their terrified expressions. You freak, get the heck away from us. Terrified by the 2's extraordinary display of power, they yelled, and soon they were fleeing the encampment itself. As he watched them go, Naruto thought, you help someone and that's how they repay you, huh? He noticed something protruding from a collapsed tent out of the corner of his eye and picked it up, discovering it was a camera. You know what? I'm keeping this, he thought as he fastened the neck strap. Naruto, hurry up and let's return to the shrine. As she began to return to the warp pad, Garnet declared, our mission here is complete. After the gem, he said, okay, let's go. The stillness was finally broken by Naruto halfway through the trip, saying, hey Garnet, I've been meaning to ask you something. I detected something odd about your energy when I was looking for the jewel. What is it? Garnet inquired. Well, it seemed to be a blend of 2 distinct jewels. Why is that happening? Naruto inquired, curious to learn more about the peculiar energy. I believe I understand what you're discussing. It's not harmful, so don't worry about it. If you say so. Afterwards, Naruto's point of view. I was at Steven's apartment fiddling with the camera I had received from the mission when I heard the front door smash open and noticed Steven racing in with his hands cupped for some reason. It had been over a week since my first expedition with Garnet, and not much had happened since. Naruto, have a look at what I discovered. Can you take a picture of it, please? He exclaimed with excitement before raising his hands to reveal a small mouse sitting peacefully on his palm. He begged. I answered, sure, Steven, and then quickly snapped some photos of the rodent. Now, release it before Pearl notices you carrying it. You are aware of her personality. All fine, but it's not my fault if he gets eaten by a lion, he remarked, pausing briefly before continuing. Do you want to accompany me? Of course, why not? But first, how about we go see your father? I mentioned, I've been meaning to talk to him about something. Yes, I don't believe that will be an issue. As we left the temple, Steven said, come on, let's go. After a brief stroll, we reached the wash, where Onion was standing by the entrance, filling a bucket of fries with water when he noticed the mouse in Steven's hands. He approached, pointed at the mouse, and then pointed to himself. Do you wish to grasp the mouse? Asked Steven. Shaking his head, he pointed at the mouse once more and then held out his hand in a give me motion. Why you want to keep it? Before reluctantly giving Onion the mouse, Steven questioned, okay, but you have to swear to take care of it. Onion took the mouse and fled without replying. That kid really creeps me out, I thought as I watched him go. On my way into the car wash, I noticed Greg chatting with a short, plump man who was dressed in black jeans, a red vest with a gray shirt underneath, and a mullet ponytail with the sides shaved off. Who's this, Greg? I inquired. Hey, Naruto. Greg added, this is Ricky, the publisher I was referring to, as the plump man extended his hand. It's good to meet you, youngster. My name is Ricky Spanish. He quickly grasped my hand and continued, and I got to say I loved your book and so did over 60 people. You mean 60 other people? I inquired. That's exactly what it is. I printed a few copies of your book and offered them for sale at the neighborhood bookstore in my hometown. I'm here to give you this, the money from the sale, he added eagerly, reaching into his vest and removing an envelope. Those things sold out in a day. I took a little percentage course. I took the envelope and opened it to discover $500 and $150 cash. This child is only getting started. We will be wealthy before we know it if everything continues to go smoothly. He waved ciao as he left the car wash, saying, just keep pumping out those books and I'll keep putting them out there. I waved and said, nice meeting you, Ricky, before glancing down at the envelope I was holding and said, I'm going shopping. Greg, I appreciate you introducing me to Ricky.